Cataclysm has been out for 2 days, so we got a pretty good view of what the meta looks like. So in this video, we'll be going over the best decks to climb to Legend. We've got a lot of decks to go over, and if you're trying to play Control, yeah. Deck codes are in the description as always. Now let's get started with the first deck, and like I said, we have a lot of new decks, so let's begin with Imbue Druid, which is definitely a new deck, and it seems to be the best deck right now, and got a lot of new good cards, especially the Treant is absolutely amazing. A minion that costs 1 mana and ramps you, what's not to like. We're also running the Wildwood Circle here, just good, and it can even be 2 nature spells, so even if it's shattered it's good because it will upgrade your hero power with that Imbue, of course, with the Hamel, and yeah, you want to be pretty aggressive with this deck. Technically, you can almost infinitely skill to the late game, but that's not that kind of deck, right? You can see it's a very low curve. A lot of aggressive cards you often see in the aggro decks as well. And yeah, just get that hero power going, hero power every turn, especially if you get early to those 4/4s and 5/5s with hero power. It's just really difficult for a lot of decks to keep up. There's almost no board clears in the game, no comeback, no healing. So yeah, just a very, very strong deck right now, and probably just the best deck to climb with. And the second deck we have here is another totally new deck in the Spell Demon Hunter, the No Minion Demon Hunter. And also this one got a few nice new cards to play with. I mean, we got the new location, Nespera. It's 5 damage, nice to ping minions, and it's pretty easy to open with all the fell spells in the deck. And then yeah, you get that minion out of it, and then maybe more fell spells, get more minions, actually overwhelm the opponent on board. Because surprisingly, despite this being a no minion deck, it plays a lot of minions. I mean, of course, we have the Solitude here, we got the location, Hounds of Fury, the Dread Seeds here. So yeah, actually lots of minions in this deck. Can't just win with burn, but this deck definitely has a ton of burn as well, and just very strong to climb the ladder because again, there's just a lack of healing right now for all this damage. And the third deck we got is the Aggro Hunter, or the No Hand Hunter, and yeah, this also has been very, very popular. I face a ton of Hunter at High Legend. It is really good because what you do, right, is just play a ton of 1-drops, abuse the fact that there's not a lot of healing and removal again, and then you just replay it at like turn 4, get a full board with Graffonte Tolvir, and then yeah, you just win the game because almost no deck can really deal with that board once you get it back, and then just tons of damage on top of it as well. I mean, 3 damage here, another 3 damage here, another 3 or 5 damage there. I mean, we got the 2 damage Arcane Shield, Sizzling Cinder, and then of course Sylvanas, very, very strong. And we got the Neri because some of those cards like the Rocco here, the Arcane Shield, are just buffing minions. It's all very good to help you win the game very, very fast with this deck. And here we have the second Druid deck, the Token/Treant Druid, and yeah, it's another aggro deck, another Druid deck. Aggro decks are pretty popular, and Druid has been doing pretty well. And again, those new cards really help this deck out with the Wildwood Circle again, the Felwood Treant. Those are just excellent cards in this deck. We got 1 Splinter Reality because in the end, this deck isn't playing too many Treants, mostly with the Wildwood Circle. And also we got the new legendary Wickerfang here. That's just really nice. You get on board. Again, lack of board clears makes this really hard to clear. And if this lives or you give it any buff, the game is pretty much over. And other than that, it's just your typical aggro token deck where you just want to get on board fast, then buff the board, and then overwhelm the opponent. And yeah, especially like the Ravenous Flock into like Hatchery Helper is super strong, or just anything with the Ravenous Flock. Like there's some crazy blowout turns for this. I literally had 1 game where at the start of turn 3 there was nothing on board, then this got summoned, and I made a full board, and turn 4 I was dead from 27 health. So this deck has some crazy blowout potential, and definitely one of the best decks to climb with right now. And here we have the first Herald deck, the Herald Shaman, and this is definitely a completely new deck. And yeah, it's been doing really well. I mean, the Alakir is just really strong, but it's mostly about that early game. With those Herald cards, like just getting like basically a Flame Tongue Totem with each of these cards. It's just really strong. It's really good at controlling the board because of these rushers with like ritual power. And you just get a lot of stats. It's really hard to keep clearing all those soldiers of Alakir. And then also we got some nice control tools, right? The Hex deal with like an Act. There's some Act decks popping up. Got the healing rate to stay alive. Again, lack of healing, so healing is actually pretty premium. We're still playing Elise because it's okay if you don't build your deck around it, but yeah, you already had the 10 different cards in this deck, so might as well slot Elise in. Still an okay card, just not as broken as it used to be. And then yeah, we just try and Herald, right, get to the Alakir, and often just that Alakir wins by itself because it's super hard to clear that. And if that isn't enough, we got the Deathwing, you get that hero power, you go with the High King's Hammer. And yeah, that is a lot of damage that almost no deck can survive through. The second Herald deck we got is the Herald Warrior. It's more like Herald Dragon Warrior, and honestly, I played this a few games. It feels almost more like Dragon Warrior with just some Herald cards in there in case you need the damage. But the dragon cards are so strong. The herald cards are a bit slow, but they're way better at winning the game in the late game, because yeah, the Ragnarok is basically 32 damage guaranteed with it, and that's really hard to survive for a lot of decks, especially on top of all the dragons you played, plus the Deathwing. So this build is definitely better if you want to focus more on the late game. And if you want to have a bit more early game, then you can choose this pure Dragon Warrior deck. No heralds in here, just the same kind of Dragon Warrior we saw last expansion. With a few upgrades, we're now playing some fire spells. That's why playing Living Flame to draw like the Torch. We got the Twisted Times here, so if you can like hit that for 1 damage, then yeah, your Torch just keeps dealing damage over and over without expiring, basically. Upgrades the other damage card, and then we have the Erupting Volcano. So yeah, that's an 18 damage location for 3 mana. Really good at pushing damage, just like the rest of the deck. And yeah, besides that, it's pretty much the same Dragon Warrior that you already know. And the mage deck we have today is the Burn Mage, and this one is built all around the new card Archmage Kalak. And yeah, getting this on curve is really strong, especially because it upgrades the Arcane Flow twice. So you shatter this, then you get Kalak. It's actually 6 damage plus 4 damage AoE, so like a Pyroblast to the face, 10 damage to the face. That's extremely strong. And to get there, we have actually a lot of minions. It's almost like the Elemental Mage we bet before, where you just play a lot of Elementals with some burn, but this is slightly more burn focused. But yeah, we have like the Violet Spellwing, the Living Flame, the Ring Call even. Didn't expect this to see play, I'll be honest. And then we have the Conjured Bookkeeper, that's your draw card. And other than that, just lots of burn. We even have the new Battlefield Blaster, which of course works really well with the Arcane Flow, with the Arcane Barrage, the cards that deal like damage multiple times. Really nice with that, and just a good choice if you want to play a burn deck. And here we have the Unholy Death Knight. Sadly, like the slower Death Knight decks don't seem to be performing too well, but Unholy does well, just like in the Brawl last week. And yeah, that Grave Strength is just so strong at the winning games. That's why this deck is so good. It's not running too many new cards. We got the Chowdown. I mean, this is really nice late game to get another board, especially after Shadows of Yesterday. So there's a lot of ways to get the board with this deck. We got the new Twilight Egg. I mean, this card is just incredible on any deck that wants to get on board early in any aggro token deck. The Command Claw here, we can buff the egg or any of the other minions. And yeah, it kind of just plays the same as in the Brawl. It's not too different, but surprisingly strong on ladder right now, and just very, very free to play friendly. And the Paladin deck we have here is the End of Turn Paladin, the Aura Paladin. It's kind of those two things combined, and yeah, another surprising deck that works out well. And yeah, the new cards, we have a lot of new cards here, of course. First one is the Inspiring Maul. This is probably the MVP here, because it allows you to proc those end of turn effects twice in a turn, and it just works really well, especially with Send for Your Aura. You actually proc it 4 times in the same turn if you combine those. So if you have a board, you go Nosdorbo, yeah, you give all your minions Divine Shield and +9/+9. I mean, that probably wins the game by itself. Or just have a board cleave, a Skill Breaker, Bulwark, or have a ton of Holy Spells. Actually, Holy Spell pool isn't too bad right now, so it's actually surprisingly playable. The Spearheart Sentry, and other than that, yeah, we still have the Galbin. We can no longer really tutor it as the highest cost card, but if you get this card on board on turn 8, it's just as strong as before, although minus maybe the Crusader Aura. And another new card we have is the Flight Maneuvers. I mean, this one, if it's combined, it's extremely strong, but it can just be nice to yeah, buff your board with the +1/+1 and Divine Shield, and follow it up with that Nosdorbo. It can just that can just be really strong, and it's just a solid choice to climb the ladder. And here we have the first of 2 egg decks. This is the Egg Warrior. And this one is all about, as you guessed it, the Egg of Kalos. And yeah, you just want to proc that Egg of Kalos, get the Kalos out as soon as possible. And if your opponent deals with that, well, then you just play Umbra, get a full board of it. And because we're playing Warrior, we got multiple ways to clear those eggs. We got the Decimation, so it hits all your eggs. We got the Sharnado hitting all your eggs. We got like the eggs of the Forefathers, like Torch can hit your own eggs. Or here, even Siphoning Grove is perfect in this deck. Also ways to clear the board, including your own eggs. And again, lack of board clear means that almost no deck can deal with a bunch of 20/20s, which is what makes this deck viable. Then we have the third Druid deck, and this one is a bit different compared to the other Druid decks. This one is definitely slower, and you can tell that by the amount of high cost cards you have here. It's a bit like the Ramp Druid, of course, where you just play a ton of high cost cards, and here we have a bunch of those high cost dragons. I mean, we're playing Naralex to cheat out either Ysera or Fyrak mostly, and then the late game bomb. Here we have the new card is Marithra, and yeah, if you empty your hand, you play Marithra late game, yeah, you get so much tempo and value with just this one card. Almost no deck can stand up to that. However, since we're playing a slower Druid deck, it will struggle a little bit in early game though. We tried to win there with like the 1 mana 4/3 here. Then we can maybe play this on turn 4 because this is basically 1 mana but counts as 3 for the Brood Watcher. Get a lot of stats, or just yeah, get that Felwyn Treant and the acceleration aura for the ramp, so you can maybe play Narlax on like turn 5 and then innovate out one of those dragons. But definitely a different deck compared to the other Druid decks we have on this list. And here we have the second Egg deck, and it is the Egg Warlock, the Herald Egg Warlock. And yeah, this one has Herald in it, but it's not running like Shogun, it's not running Deathwing, because those Herald cards are just supporting tool for the Egg. It's pretty much the same as the Egg Warlock last expansion, where you just want to pop that Egg as soon as possible, and then resurrect potentially with the Umbra, or get more of them with the Archdruid of Thorns here. And yeah, it still works pretty much the same way. Just make sure you put these Herald cards on the left of the Egg, because the Herald minion summons on the right of the minion you play. So keep that in mind. And then, yeah, you just get the Egg out as soon as possible. And again, decks just cannot deal with a 20/20 most of the time. And then if they do, you got that Umbra, or that, again, that Archdruid of Thorns. They have multiple of them. Not quite as good as it was last set. It did lose a few key cards, but still a viable deck to climb. And here we have another Herald deck, the Herald Rogue, and for me this has been the most fun deck of the expansion. I've played this a ton, which you would have probably noticed if you watched any of my streams here on YouTube or on Twitch. And yeah, the deck is just all about that heralding, although we're not even playing all the Herald cards, and Void of the End is a bit slow, but we are playing the other Herald cards, and especially Rite of Twilight with like a Shadow of the Mice. If you get that early, it's a really, really nice cheat out some spells, get some minions on the board quickly. And then you have Sinestra. Now, Sinestra is a bit different, I think, from the other Herald cards, because it's like the only one you don't really need to fully Herald, because it's not that much of an upgrade. It's fine to play this for like with 2 Heralds, because you just get 2 2/2s, then 2 spells with it, and then maybe you can use that. So don't focus on that. That's also why you only have 1 of these. And the late game, well, you actually have a ton of late game because we're running Shaman, so you're going to steal the whole deck from the opponent, especially nice if they're playing Herald cards, because then regardless of what class they're playing, if you Herald, you'll Herald your Sinestra, and you just keep getting those cheap spells that cost 4 less, and you can just keep cheating mana with that. Also, we got the Deja Vu and Nightmare Fuel. So again, if they're playing a Herald deck, you steal like their Alakir, maybe their Ajara. I've beaten like a Demon Hunters with their Ajara, because I just got to play it first. So that's definitely where this deck shines, though it can struggle a bit against aggro, because we don't really have a great board clear here. We struggle a bit in early game, don't have a lot of healing, though we do have at least, so this can be 12 armor with the location. Keep that in mind. And of course, you can random some healing, like a Healing Rain. So really fun deck to play. Maybe not the best, but yeah, would definitely recommend to check it out if you open that Sinestra. And the final deck we have here is the Herald Demon Hunter. Again, like I just said, we got the Ajara here. So this is very, very powerful, especially if you can maybe reduce some of the Fel spells, or get like a Fel Infusion, the Herald card with like the Scorch Reaver. Then you can maybe reduce that, and then once you're fully heralded, you can play it at the same time as Ajara and get a ton of damage. I think one game had like turn 9 30 damage with this, so that can be super strong. However, it does struggle in the early game a bit, because a lot of these cards are pretty awkward, like Fel Infusion by itself. Yeah, if this is the first Herald, it's like 1 attack, 1 lifesteal. It's not gonna do a whole lot. The aggro decks, if they go wide, you don't have a ton of ways to deal with it. We do have the Felfire Blaze here. Kind of a surprise this card sees play, but we just don't have something like an Immolation Aura. So we're gonna have to play this card to deal with like the Aggro Hunter or the Token Druid decks to have at least a shot at clearing that board, because a card like Broxigar's Last Stand by itself won't really kill those Treants. And if you do get past that early game, yeah, then you get to that Ajara, you usually win the game. It's just too much damage for most decks to handle, because again, there's just barely any armor healing in this meta. And those are all the decks I got for you today. If you want to see me play these decks live, you can do that right here on YouTube or on Twitch. If the video was helpful, make sure to like and subscribe. Thank you for watching, and until next time.